Okay, so when Stephanie and I were planning this episode recording, we couldn't decide if we wanted to do an episode on a teacher survival kit to have in your classroom or no cost time fillers for lessons. Like if you have if you have a last minute sub or if you're covering someone's class or whatever. So we decided to combine them into topics called important stuff or survival stuff. So this is the stuff episode. Hello, my time crunch teachers, and welcome to the show. This is your team teacher, Mariel Desrosier, here to help you optimize your teaching, technology, and time management. And today I have with me, you know what was funny? When I was writing these notes, Stephanie, I was going to say my guest, but I think now I'm going to just say co-host. Because I feel so special. My co-host, third grade teacher, Stephanie Hedgpeth-Lopez. No, because I was listening back to other episodes. Oh, yeah, let me let you say hi.
Oh, hi.
My third grade teacher, Stephanie Hedgpeth-Lopez. Now you can say hi.
Hi.
Without me interrupting you. No, because I was listening back to other episodes, and the ones that I recorded solo, I did forever ago, even though they don't necessarily post that way. But all of the most recent, like chronological ones that we've actually recorded is just me and you. So you're just my co-host now. Co-host Stephanie.
Because we like to talk and might as well just record it.
Well, yeah, and you have good ideas too. So today we do have a two-part topics, and depending on how long we go, I may actually divide this into two episodes on the off chance that somebody wants to, listen to them because they are completely different topics
yet
that we're deciding to put together.
Completely different, yet the same.
Exactly. So part one of the episodes or of this one is about physical supplies that you want to have in your teacher bag or desk as a physical kit. And the second topic is about what I want to call productive time fillers, when you need something for just 5 or 10 minutes with your class. So it could be because you actually gave me this idea, Stephanie, because this happens a lot. Like maybe an administrator or somebody needs to like chat with you really quick. And so they have a sub or, oh, this person's going to pop into your class really quick. Could you just do this thing? I feel like that happens a lot.
Yeah. Or you forget, I'm supposed to go meet. Okay. And
yeah, exactly. Like, or you have
here,
some
teacher,
meeting
here's
scheduled.
What we're doing.
Right. Or sometimes it's like, a kid needs help with something, and so like you're bringing them to the nurse or your help, like whatever,
yeah.
or maybe it's you have a behavioral issue and like somebody else is there. Maybe it is your principal or whatever, and they're just going to cover your class. And instead of having them be like, could you teach this whole lesson on whatever? It's like, okay, hey, they know how to play this game. A lot of the activities, as I was looking over our notes, are things that I did when I was subbing. And if you're a listener and you are a substitute teacher or planning on going into subbing, these are things that are really great just to have in the back of your head or a list so that you can fill those times. Or just fun transition games. But the things I want to bring up are not what I would consider busy work, right? So this isn't thing that you just want your kids to do or to be silent.
There's ways to describe them as very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I actually recently saw a comment on one of my YouTube videos that I liked, and it was basically somebody who is a sub, and they said that they like it when they go in and see in the sub plans left for them some sort of thing where like the kids do this activity silently for 15 minutes, right? Like whether it's like an online reading thing or a program. Mm-hmm. And when I read that comment, I'm like, oh, I love that too as a sub, because one, it allows you to kind of pre-read the sub plans because, you usually get them right before you walk in. But it also allows you to just catch your breath, and maybe you need to take attendance, or maybe you need to check in with a certain student, or maybe you just need to like figure out what you're teaching for the rest of the day. And so having those kind of like, the kids do this silently, I think is very important. I appreciate that comment that person said. But these are not silent time fillers. These are like maybe rewards for the kids. Maybe it's just something like you have 10 minutes before lunch and you don't want to start a whole brand new topic or whatever it might be. I was also looking because I drove out of town yesterday. We're actually recording this in September, which is Labor Day weekend for us in the U.S. And I was listening to one of the last episodes that posted, which was our class rewards, like our no. Yep. And I was listening to it and I was like, whoa, we recorded this at the beginning of June. but it posted at the end of August. And I was laughing because we actually recorded that episode before we recorded the worst classroom supply ones. Because at the end of that one, we talk about like paper towels and glitter, and I did not have the veracity and anger that I did when we later recorded the worst school supply ones. So anyways, listeners, that's just a little back thing. We batch record, like we'll record a couple episodes in a row and then I'll space out when I post them. But I was laughing. The other thing I was laughing about listening to our own episodes that I was actually present for and wrote notes for is I forget the things we talked about. And so I was listening to the classroom rewards one.
I forget what I did yesterday.
And the back to school night one, because we recorded that one in like June.
Oh, I got to listen to that because ours is coming up.
This week. So our back to school
night. What do I need to do
this week? And I was like re-listening to an episode where we as grown adult women spoke. And I fully forgot things that we do. And I was like, oh, that's good. So anyways, Stephanie, if you want ideas, you should re-listen.
I think I will, because I was like, oh, I'm set. And then about 10 things popped into my head yesterday. Oh, I have to do this.
Well, what was great about the free classroom rewards one is I forgot about your like cursive Hall of Fame. Like you, well, no, it wasn't necessarily cursive, but you would like put their name on the bingo Hall of Fame or whatever on the thing. And then Stephanie, I realized that our music teacher has something similar. So I don't know if he listened to the episode
or
if he just
him.
Oh, he did it.
He's just brilliant on his own.
Oh, that's cool. Did he know that he can do it in cursive and make it that much more special?
He lets the kids write it on there because I was watching.
Oh, okay.
Because it's so cute. They're just like, they're really excited.
Right. So what we're talking about, if you haven't listened to that episode, or if you listened to it like me and was a participant and completely forgot about what you talked about, is Stephanie had like a bingo game, but you could really do this for anything. And the kids who won got to write their name. Well, you wrote it for them and did it in cool font, let them pick out whatever color they wanted. Our music teacher, he lets the kids write their own name, but they basically write their name on a Hall of Fame, and it stays up, and it's just quite literally a piece of paper.
A giant piece of butcher paper on the wall.
Yeah. So that was a free reward that I forgot about that we talked about. And I'm going to do. So I'm actually noting my notes for today's so that I do what I said. I don't have to re-listen to this in like October and be like, what did we talk about? All right. So the first thing we are going to talk about, though, is the physical teacher survival kit, like the things you have in your desk or your closet or like your bag that help you, save you in like pinch situations. So what are some of the things you have, Stephanie?
Okay, I thought of this because it happened to me the day and I had forgotten to replace them. But I always have an extra pair of earrings. And I know that sounds lame. But I have pierced ears, and I often will just stick some in there and they'll stay for 3 or 4 days and then I'll exchange them. But every once in a while I'll take them out at night because they're bothering me or I want to change them and I forget. And I feel not together without my earrings.
No, I know what you mean. Like I feel exposed, especially for me because I have such short hair that I feel like you see the earrings.
Yeah, and I don't want to put my hair. I'm like, I can't put my hair up if I get hot because my ears will show and it looks unfinished.
What percentage of listeners do you think we just lost on the?
Like what? Pierced ear? Although there's someone out there that goes, oh, that's a good idea.
Me. Yeah, just like an extra pair of like. Well, plus
stick them on my desk.
Yeah, plus you and I actually wear fun earrings, so the kids notice.
Right. So it just looks, and I just feel weird. Like people are looking at my ears all day, and I know that's just lame, but it's true.
And we have our big hoop energy.
Yes, I gotta have that.
I love wearing my big hoops when I have big hoop energy. Okay, so besides earrings, what else should they have?
Deodorant?
Oh yeah, that one's clutch.
There's all these times when you run out the door and then you're like, did I put deodorant on? And it's funny because Edith also, will like text you, oh no, I forgot today. I said, always have extra, even if it's like, take the one that's almost done and leave that at school and get yourself a new one.
Well, especially if the teachers are like us and they teach their own PE.
Oh yeah.
Like having your...
Which also goes with, I always have an extra pair of shoes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Like little, but like little
I have that too.
Slip-on ones.
Yeah.
And this is important also because twice in the past 2 years, I've gone to school with two different shoes on.
Like one brown and one navy?
No, like, both black Birkenstocks, but the different styles.
Oh, right.
And one time I had 2 black tennis shoes, but I'm like, these are not the same shoes. And I only could tell when I'm walking, like, why am I
feel a little
walking weird?
unbalanced.
So there's two reasons. If you're very forgetful or late, or you might want them because you have PE or something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, PE for sure. Or if you teach like a lab or like on some of the art classes or whatever, a lot of schools you have to have closed-toed shoes, but especially ones that involve like chemicals or equipment or whatever. And for some reason, if you happen to not wear closed-toed shoes, you have to have those on you.
Yes.
So
I also have an old raincoat in my closet.
That's a good idea.
Because you never know when the weather will change.
Yeah, exactly. And we live in Northern California, so the weather does change. It doesn't swing rapidly, but it is nice.
Lately, it's like, it's raining. Oh, wait, what? It's 100 degrees? What happened? And
that's true.
Within an hour. So let's see, what else do I always have? Mints, toothbrush, toothpaste, which a lot of people already have.
Yeah. Food.
I always have food.
Well, you always have food, like, period, because you bring us, like, treats. But I feel like the food that is shelf-stable, like, I have a huge Costco-sized thing, a cup of noodles. Mm-hmm. And not only are those great for, like, you and colleagues, but for the kid that very rarely, the nice part in California is, like, all the school lunches are provided for the children. But every now and then there's a kid with like a food need. And for some reason that like backup food is not in the thing. So having cup of noodles is awesome. Also having, I have an empty water bottle all the time so that if I forget my water bottle, I have a backup water bottle. Well,
since my husband ran over my good water bottle, it's really sad. I did not know that a metal water bottle could look so bad after getting run over. But but I also like sparkling water. So I always take a whole 8-pack or whatever it is and have it at school. Another good emergency lunch is like if you like tuna, there's these tuna packs you can get with crackers, and there's the kind you can be all Susie Homemaker mix with the mayonnaise and everything. Right. There's also the ones my husband likes. I don't like them as much, but they're already made in a little can.
Oh, okay.
And those are great because it's not. I know sometimes when you get stuck having something emergency, it's like too bready or sweet or something.
Totally, yeah.
So that is kind of a nice extra thing.
Yeah, that is nice because a lot of times like we have granola bars, right? Or something that like you're saying is like sweet, and so it's nice to have something that's not like that.
I used to always have peanut butter too, but I can't right now.
Right, with all the allergies.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, like when I did my tour of my classroom video is having and I think you have one too, like a mini fridge is nice because you can hold on to things in there like an apple that lives for the first semester in there or whatever, or other food that
a thing of yogurt, cottage cheese.
Yeah, for the week. Like if you come in on Monday and like load it with stuff, you have things in there, which is nice. So yeah, if your school allows, having the mini fridge is pretty clutch. Or having, whether it's instant coffee or tea or like that kind of thing. Oh yeah,
I always have a little kit. It's like I feel like I'm going to get trapped there for days or something sometimes because I'm like, I got to have food for a week. I have a water.
Do other states, like I've only gone to school in California, so I don't know if I'm imagining other states do this, where you have that like plastic tub that has the emergency food in it. One. No, but I mean, like, I'm curious if like people in other states do that. Like, I feel like ones in other disaster area states. We had it because of like earthquake stuff in California. But I remember as a child and also as a teacher, one of the funniest things is like you send home the list and it's like, oh, could you bring the like whatever shelf stable food?
Used to do that.
Yeah, and they all bring them in, and then everybody has their little thing labeled and it's in a huge Ziploc bag and it goes in this huge tub. And then at the end of the year, you get it busted open and everybody eats everying.
Yeah,
and you
what
spend
happened to that lovely tradition?
That? And then you spend like half the time looking at expiration dates and being like, no, don't eat that, drink that juice box. But that used to be a thing I remember as an actual child and as a teacher. But now I feel like the school just has in the cafeteria or like in the whatever.
I think we're safe. And, Target's just down the street.
We can just walk.
Just go get something.
Yeah, just walk to Target to get something. But I do kind of fondly remember those food. And sometimes they were in this like gigantic garbage can that held everything.
Although I have no idea where I'd put that now.
I know, right? Actually, I am kind of glad we don't. How did our teachers fit that somewhere?
I have no idea.
Okay, well, that can be a future topic.
No idea.
Things we experienced as children and early educators that are no longer.
What happened to that?
Blue line masters.
Ditto paper, yeah.
Oh, yeah. there's all kind, or what am I trying to say? I still call the document camera the overhead projector, and the kids have no idea what I'm talking about.
Oh, well, because there was the overhead
I know,
projector.
that's what I mean. Like, because that's so ingrained in how you go home with the vis-a-vis marker all over your hand.
I had it everywhere all the time. Like I smeared it over.
Oh, totally. And I remember in the early days of us being able to photocopy on the transparencies and how we would hoard those so that other teachers wouldn't take them because they were like so precious.
Overhead projector.
Yeah, totally. I remember when I went to college, one of my psych professors, she put every morning on an overhead transparency a comic. And I'm like, this woman must be rich that she is blowing through her overhead transparencies to do a Far Side comic every day.
She probably saved them too and used them over.
I know, but still, every day, we probably just lost every single person under the age of 35.
What are you talking about?
Look it up. Look it up, youngins. Overhead transparencies. This is why you have cartons of vis-a-vis markers in your supply closet.
Like, why do we still have these?
I love
Actually,
them.
they're good markers.
I know. I totally love them. The other thing I thought that I throw in my little kit is like the little vitamin emergency, like when you think you're starting to get sick and you like dump those in your water. Yeah, I love those. And then when I was looking on message boards and stuff, because I was looking, what other teachers have in theirs? A bunch of them said cough drops, which I never thought about.
I usually have those, but I have to throw them away because they get funky.
Gross.
Yeah. You're like, what do I have then? But that's
true.
a good thing to have.
Especially when you first come back to teaching and you're like, this is what it feels like to talk all day.
Yeah. And you don't like, okay, it's not COVID. So you want to have a cough drop.
Totally.
Pain relief.
Whatever
your pain relief. Of course, you need it in a cabinet that's
locked
away from the children and locked.
Yeah, I was reading this
definitely
message board where a teacher basically got busted because they had a prescription medicine. A child did not get into it, but they left it on their desk or somewhere, and they got in trouble. And somebody in the comments wrote, "It's called a controlled substance because it's supposed to be under your control." And that stuck with me. Like, yeah, you need to lock it up. Or sometimes I have a bottle of ibuprofen that I very kindly ask our school nurse.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's probably the best suggestion.
Have it stored.
Although usually the office manager and the assistant, between the two, one of them has something.
That's
available.
True for the teachers. But yeah, having whatever pain relief and then having
it go buy it and then have it with the nurse so nothing happens.
Exactly. Plus then you can write yourself a note.
I gotta go to the nurse. I don't feel good.
Did you say like chapstick or like balm? Because that's the thing.
Oh yeah. Because I think also talking so much and not being able to drink water, your lips are. It was really bad with masks. It's not.
Oh yeah, that's true. My husband makes fun of me because I always have on me a water bottle and chapstick. It doesn't matter if we're just walking down the street. Like I have a water bottle, and I have. One time I got mad because the kids used my own children used my car chapstick and lost it, and so then I had to take my purse chapstick and make it my car chapstick, and then I forgot to refill.
And see, as we're talking, my lips are like going, "Oh my gosh, I need to."
I know, right? Something else I saw that somebody had, which is another reason why I carry chapstick. Hold on, these two will go together. Is somebody wrote their teacher thing they have blister tape or like the blister Band-Aids.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's clever. I learned in college when I wore inappropriate shoes when I go out at night that in a pinch, lip balm or chapstick can help prevent a blister if your shoe's rubbing.
Oh, good dancing tip.
Exactly. You don't want to reuse it on your face after you've used it on your toes.
Let's hope not.
But another reason why I always have chapstick. But yeah, the blister tape or the blister Band-Aids, I was like, that's a good one to have in your kit. This back to food, when you were talking about like coffee and tea, it made me think of how it was sort of just a all the time joke of how people would give teachers mugs like as a gift. And I think it became so ubiquitous as like a joke or like, don't get your teacher a mug, that everyone stopped. And I haven't gone to a teacher mug in probably at least 8 or 9 years. And it bums me out because those are some of my favorite presents, or like I have the funky mugs or the whatever.
They're not as much, although I still have a couple. And then I had a mom that worked for Starbucks last year. So I got 2 really cool, like nice. Tall ones with the lid.
That's clutch. No, because I feel like now when we go into the staff lounge, we all fight over the 4 mugs that are in the
Well, so that's cabinet. Where I took a lot of my mugs. Like I'd try to use them during the year in front of the kids. And then at the end of the year, I'd like, okay, I'm going to donate these and keep these.
Yeah, totally. But then I did that once at my prior school because my husband's obsessed with Fiesta wear. Okay, and I understand it's nice and they have bright colors. We do not need, we quite literally had 30 Fiesta wear coffee mugs. And at a certain point, your shelves need to be reinforced because Fiesta wear is so heavy. Yeah. And I think that happened to my mother-in-law. I think her shelves actually collapsed once because they had so much Fiesta wear. But anyways, so I had 30 mugs and I told him, short of our wedding, which was not at our house, we have never had this many guests in our presence for something that we hosted. Can I please donate these to my prior school? And he's like, sure. So I brought 20 Fiesta wear mugs to my prior school. And by the end of that year, and you know Fiesta wear, people, it's bright and colorful, not a single one of those mugs was still in the teacher lounge. And so I think teachers, we are terrible about either leaving them in their room.
It's like all the forks at our school.
Yeah, why do forks disappear?
Jenny bought like a set of like these funky ones with plastic.
Yeah.
Those disappeared. I brought it. I got some new silverware because I was tired of mismatched silverware. And then I brought all of my mismatched ones. Those are all gone. Like there's no forks.
Yeah, why are there never... Okay, so again, this is why we have to plan out our episodes because we go excited. But I feel like this is really important. If you are listening and you are not a teacher, or like maybe you're a spouse or a partner of a teacher, if you buy them at like a thrift store or whatever,
right,
just like a gigantic container of forks and don't have them donate to the staff lounge at their school, they will be the new popular teacher for like a week or two before all the forks disappear. But I feel like it's Alanis Morissette song, like 10,000 spoons and all you need is a knife.
That's what we have at our school.
We do. We have a ridiculous amount of spoons and knives and not a single fork. So again, maybe that goes in their survival thing. Having a fork that you've engraved with your name.
Well, I have some plastic. I mean, I'm trying not to buy that, but I do have plastic forks and spoons in my room so that if I don't have one, I can grab one.
Yeah. What is happening to do people? Okay, now I have to admit.
No, you know what? I think what happens is you use the fork that you found.
Right. I'm going to clean it.
You throw it in your lunch bag and go home and forget.
Okay, that's true because I have to admit.
Because I probably have a couple at my house. But I brought so many to replace it.
That equalizes. So here's what I have to admit. I was just complaining about at my prior school how they took all the Fiesta wear mugs. I have a spoon from that school. And I know it is because they had very particular soup spoons in their cafeteria. I'm going to text my old boss right now and tell her I have a spoon. I feel really bad. I'm sorry. I have one of your spoons.
It's going to come up on your teacher retirement or something. It is going to be.
But nobody needs spoons. That's why it's
well, they don't. You need the forks because I've eaten salad with chopsticks before.
Yeah, you could eat. Yeah, was it you? One of us was trying to eat. Oh, I remember who it was. They were trying to eat a salad with one of our spoons, and then we tried to help them. Fork? Yeah, and then we're like, grab one of the knives because all we have is okay. Anyhow, bring forks so that your school doesn't have the problem we do. The other things I have. Sorry, none of this is helpful.
I was gonna say, give a fork.
Give a fork. Everyone should give a fork. The other things that I have, I think I'm gonna put this under like hygiene, like you're talking about deodorant. Band-aids that actually stick to your body because the ones that come from the school might as well just be paper. And my second graders last year used to make fun of me because every now and then when they have the little rough noses from the one-ply Kleenex that is supplied to all schools.
Yeah, have your own Kleenex.
They would ask if they could have one or two of my good Kleenex that I kept in that locked drawer. And I know that sounds terrible that I hid my good Kleenex, but I paid for it myself. I did give it to the children who were in need, but...
Well, there's some, like, Kleenex eating glasses. Like, last year, they would just... The Kleenex would be gone. They'd also be very... I had a creative class last year, and it was, like, a fad to, like, make these certain things...
Out of Kleenex.
I was like, what are you doing? So that ate to the Kleenex a lot. This year doesn't seem... Mainly because one of the kids that's allergic to things, he has his own... Kleenex box on his desk, which is great because then he's set.
He's taking care of it.
And he doesn't have that horrible... We should have had that on our list. School Kleenex. Tissues. Yeah. School tissues. They're not Kleenex.
Yeah, that's true.
They're in no way associated to the brand because they do not live up to it.
Right. That's why we keep saying chapstick, even though it's technically like lip balm. But yes, anyways, having the good Kleenex brand Kleenex for your own personal stash is important. I feel like people know this already, but lotion, nail clippers and tweezers have saved me a lot too.
Yes.
And then this, even though I have incredibly short hair, like shorter than a pixie, like it's probably one step above buzz cut, I have a bunch of hair ties for everyone else in the world who needs them.
I'm going to remember that because I'm always losing mine.
Yeah, especially when I cut my hair super short, I had a collection of hair ties that I just brought to school for any of my students with longer hair. But I learned this from preschool, that having those super cheap disposable combs is really helpful because kids with longer hair get stuff stuck in them. And I don't mean like food. I mean like their parent or family member, whatever, like does their hair all cute. And then halfway through the day, the kid decides to pull the hair tie out and it gets massively torn in their hair. And then also one of my students, we have super cheap headphones that they all wear, and that's basically like a little metal wire above their head. And poor thing, she got it wrapped around her hair, and so I had to hand pick out her hair. She was so patient, she like sat there. But I remember when I taught preschool, stuff was so frequently stuck in kids' hair, like toys, or my own son put a Hot Wheel wound up train, a Thomas the Train that like turns on his head.
Oh my goodness.
And he turned it on and then his hair got wrapped in it. So I remember this happened so frequently when I taught preschool that I would sit there, I would be reading a book to the whole class and like picking out some toy out of some other kid's head while I was reading. So anyways, having a disposable comb that the kid just takes home with them after so you can pick out their hair is important.
But totally off topic, my son, he's 22 now, took in a whole thing of slime and dumped it on his head.
How do you get that out?
The way you get it out is with mayonnaise.
Oh,
if you use shampoo and stuff, it just like
it globs,
solidifies. That kid was in the bathtub for like an hour, and I'm like trying to figure out.
Very clean. The rest of them very
finally,
clean.
my sister goes, "Did you try mayonnaise?" I'm like, "No." So I stuck mayonnaise in here, combed it out, and then washed it.
That's clever. Yeah.
So, just so you know, that's how you can get slime out with mayonnaise.
That's good to know. I feel like there was a time when silly putty was a thing, which we should bring back because my own children loved putting silly putty on like newspapers and stuff. Right. But I also remember kids getting that stuck in their hair. So yes, any of that kind of stuff. Mayonnaise. Maybe that's what people should have in their mini fridge. Mayonnaise.
Have some mayonnaise.
On the off chance they put slime in. No, but you're right, because I've tried to wash that slime stuff out of things, and heat and water and whatever just make it so much worse.
Yeah, like it's like extreme cold or extreme hot do something chemically to it.
Especially if it's like the homemade one that has borax or whatever in it. We should have put that on our list of. We should have an episode where we talk about, instead of like worst school supplies, worst things in our class brought into our classroom. Or like.
Yes, that
nail
would be
polish.
a good one.
Of all my things that I have in my little teacher survival kit, this is the thing that is most requested by other people is a phone charger.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like a lot of other teachers come in, they're like, do you have a phone charger? And I do. So having one of those
and
is
if you want to be
helpful.
nice, if you had, you could have a C charger and
an
iPhone one.
Yeah, you can have a variety.
There's my charging station for the teachers.
Some hotels in countries that aren't the U.S. have that, where they have all the different chargers in the thing. So cool. I know, it's really nice. The other thing I happen to have by accident that totally saved me is, you were saying rain jacket. I have a little umbrella.
Oh,
and that's helpful, especially if there's a false alarm drill. And you're all standing outside and you have 24 second graders huddled around you under a golf umbrella.
I do have a couple extra umbrellas that I just threw in there for. It has to be really rainy because then I want to use the umbrella. But,
true.
There's been a couple downpours on the way to the cafeteria.
Exactly. Because we have a school, bless their heart, it has a lot of really great features, except covered walkway. Like there's areas where you have to walk that are not covered at all, and when it's raining it's super hard for the kids because
it's a California school.
Yeah, true. So we don't have real weather, but
we don't have real weather, nor do we have indoor hallways.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there's some of those buildings. Old ones around here.
Yeah, but I feel like other schools have overhangs and stuff. Like you can walk under. Ours stop.
Fun fact, I think there was a plan originally to have like a covered walkway.
And they just did it.
But they ran out of money or something.
Oh, that sounds about right.
Because I remember that principal that was like, we were planning the school and everything. That had come up.
Yeah. And you've been there since our school was built. No, but it wasn't like it was built 40 years ago. It was like, it's only like 17, 18 years old or something? 20?
Well, my son is 22, and he was a 2-year-old.
Yeah, see? Yeah, 20 years.
Long.
Yeah. I remember when the plans were drawn. We had covered hallways.
Yeah, we were supposed to have because when we had the overhead projectors, we were supposed to have plugs
in the floor?
In the floor, in the middle.
That would have been awesome.
And they forgot or they didn't, and we were a little upset about that because then we're still tripping over cords today, but now different cords.
Yeah, that's true. Plugs in the floor are pretty clutch. So when people design schools,
yeah.
I mean, I know it's impossible to find the perfect place to put them because of how teachers do seating, but I've loved it when I worked at schools where they had that. Did we talk about change of clothes?
Oh, no, but that's
pre-talking.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, before the episode we were talking about change of clothes. And I actually keep that in my car just for like any time. But so an extra pair of shoes, pants and a shirt. And like that's where I put all the shirts that, every year the school or the district has their whatever theme and they give us a shirt.
That's a good idea.
I put that shirt in there. Yeah, so at least it looks like I'm in a school uniform or something like that.
And even if it doesn't necessarily match, the skirt, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's like
it looks like I'm doing it for school spirit for the district. Yeah.
Really, it's because a kid threw up on me earlier. No, I'm just kidding. Whatever. Things are always spilling or there's always something. Yeah, and being able to change the shirt is awesome. Someone on a message board wrote that they have a needle and thread or whatever to fix outfit things. And I was like, no, man, that's why you have a stapler.
I was going to say stapler.
I've stapled so many hems. Yeah, but I will say safety pins are a nice thing to have.
Those are good.
For like a broken strap or belt.
You know what would be a good idea? Those little dollar store eyewear little kits. They have a teeny tiny screwdriver and a screw.
Yes. Yeah, that is helpful for fixing glasses or a lot of little broken things. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'll add that to my notes to have on there for everybody.
So basically you need an entire closet.
Oh my God, I know. I feel like everything we described it would fill that bucket that used to have the emergency food in it.
It would.
Now you can have it full of all of your stuff. I also think, I was just thinking on the meds one, is things like Imodium, that kind of emergency thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The, like little Pepto-Bismol pills.
Yeah. Or even if you...
Tums.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tums, antacid stuff. Or I was going to say
again, locked away.
Locked.
From the children.
A controlled substance that is under your control. Or the nurses. But I also think that... what was I going to say? Oh, Dramamine, because that's something I rarely use until I have to sit on a school bus to a field trip.
Oh my gosh.
And then I'm like, I wish I had that locked away somewhere. So yeah, those are all the things to have locked away for you for some day.
Well, you could keep this kit in your car in the trunk.
That's true.
Or something.
Because I would say a lot of the stuff I have on me all the time anyways, like nail clippers or...
Well, I intend to, but then I'll use them and not put them back.
Yeah, that's true. You have to
put them back.
I bet you there's somebody that's like, this sounds like something I would do, but I'm not, where they have a list, and when they've used the thing, they mark it on the list so they know to put it back. I used to do that
I'm looking at you like you're crazed. What? Who's
crazy.
that organized?
I will say the one time I did that in my life was when I used to do a lot of camping and backpacking. And so I'd have what I wanted packed in my backpack. And then if I used it on the trip, I would mark it so that I knew when I packed everything away, I could redo that, blister tape.
I like to live on the edge.
Just show up and be like...
Send a note. Okay, who has this charger? Somebody, I need a needle and thread.
That is
and
true.
I'm out of staples.
That is another reason
why
why
I can't find my stapler.
Be on a teacher, chat thread or something. It's because you could text the group and be like, hey, I need your... sorry, this has nothing to do except the idea flashed in my head and I'm going to forget. I swear one of the things we talked about when we were planning this episode, and by the way, when I say planning, I mean Stephanie texts me and goes, we should do another episode. And I go, great, what ideas do you have? And then we'll come up with a list and we'll be like, okay, let's talk about that one. And then we rapid fire text back and forth what we want to talk about. And then I write up notes that I don't follow.
And then I forget what I've said. Yeah. And then I'll look later going, oh, yeah, I forgot.
Totally.
I probably should check.
But one of the things we did say in the survival kit is not a thing to have. because we were trying to think of a clever name for this, but bathroom buddy. Sorry, that's probably the worst possible name. I don't mean somebody who goes to the bathroom with you. I mean somebody that you can text who can cover your class, or you're on a group chat of who has a prep. I need to run to the bathroom.
A relief pitcher. That's what we came up with.
Stephanie was like, I was like, it's not a bathroom buddy because they don't go with you. And she's like, no, it's more like a relief pitcher where they come in, or the, yeah, exactly. Or the pinch hitter. Oh my God, I don't know anything about baseball. Sorry. But basically somebody who can watch your class for quite literally 3 minutes, and then you can run to the bathroom and come back. So yeah, somebody who has a release, somebody who doesn't have...
So now I looked at my text.
Yeah.
I remembered all these things that I've been asked before, because like some weird science experiment or art project will ask for them.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And stuff like oil. Seriously.
There's you mean like cooking oil?
No, cooking oil. Yeah.
Not like car oil.
Tune up the children.
Hey, you got to have that locked away, man.
Vegetable oil,
yes,
and Q-tips, because there's like some mystery science stuff that asks for these things.
Yeah,
and
totally.
If you've forgotten them.
Toothpicks.
Yeah, toothpicks, baking soda, vinegar. Because Leanna has asked me for at least 2 of these things.
I know. I feel like the vinegar.
And of course I have them because, sure, here it is.
So yeah, like that once a year project or whatever you do, and you have that one-off supply that you need that you forgot to pick up at the store the night before.
Oh, paper plates or paper bags.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of craft things.
Which also
cotton balls.
Oh, cotton balls. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
There's these things that just are random that you're glad somebody has them.
Totally.
And if you want to be the person that makes everybody happy, sure, I have that oil.
That's true.
I have some Q-tips.
Totally. I have a lot of
some cotton balls.
Clothespins that I feel like are used for stuff all the time. Totally. This actually is a good segue into time fillers or projects or things.
Because you can use those paper plates and the paper bags.
So do you have any of your kind of go-to games or activities or whatnot time fillers?
Well, I have
productive
this
time fillers.
Art project, and I'll say art project loosely, but I've used it every year at 1 or 2 times, where I call it scribble art, where you do just giant scribble. And the thing is, you use like the large piece of construction white paper. And the scribble cannot be like, angry scribbling.
Right.
It's like more loopy-doopy scribbling, where you have spaces. And then you talk about, this is also where you can use it as art. You talk about the different types of lines, like curved lines, straight lines, angle lines, closed, whatever, and give them some ideas. And they have to fill in each space with a different color and or pattern.
Awesome. And so what Stephanie is describing, because I've seen what this looks like, is it sort of looks like a cross between maybe like stained glass or a mosaic, but the lines are much more free flowing than that. They're not like necessarily straight. And if you just draw a bunch of curved lines or squiggles or whatever, they intersect, and then you can fill in the different pockets with different color. And the kids either make it to look like something, or they can make it a pattern, or they can...
Well, I teach them how to do plaid. I encourage them to use not glitter, but crayons and markers and all of the multimedia mediums. So they can experiment with what the colors look like. And there have also been times when I wanted to fill in each space with a pattern or something that represented them.
Oh, that's cool.
Which then went into this other project I made up the other day, where they traced their hand and their forearm. And then they had to draw big like bands across it.
Okay.
And then each band had something different. And it was cool because this one kid like did little floating tacos all over it. It looks so cute.
Oh, cool. So they trace their hand and they fill it with
each one
images or whatever.
Yeah, and then after it was colored, you use those vis-a-vis pens, and then you trace it in black, and it made everything kind of pop. And then they wrote all the way around the hand, my name is whatever I like, and they just listed things they liked all the way around the hand, and then we wrote I am unique on top.
There you go. There's my art lesson for this.
It was like...
That's cool. They probably look really and perfect for back to school
Right.
night.
Now I got to get everybody to finish them. There's about 10 kids who need to finish them up because they are on the wall.
So hand outlines are not just for drawing turkeys, is what I just
No, exactly.
It reminded me of when I taught middle school. If there's like, you wouldn't obviously do this to a book that you read, but if there's a book that is like gonna be destroyed or whatever, if you rip out, and this works really good for novels, this doesn't work for a textbook, but if there's some novel that got trashed, you rip out the papers and then they do blackout poetry, meaning they take like a Sharpie or black pen and they black out words, and the words that are still left on the page read, what's that called? Like an acrostic. Like basically the words go down the page, and they create a poem based off of what words are left and not blackened out. And it looks really cool. And I even had some kids do it where the pieces that aren't blacked out or are blackened out create like an outline or a shape. So they end up writing a poem, or not writing, but not blacking out words that are about a tree, but the part that is blacking out looks like a tree. It's like the most creative thing I've ever seen children do in my life. But that works really well for middle to upper grades. Yeah. Because like they have to be able to read and like write a poem. Yeah. And understand what the words that are left mean.
That is cool.
But yeah, if anyone searches blackout poetry, that's what that is. And it looks really cool. And I like it. And again, another thing to display. I have a game that I think that the second graders last year called like Stump the Teacher or something. And all it is if you take spelling words or vocab or just whatever terms that the kids are learning, and all the kids had dry erase boards, but you could certainly do this on paper. What happens is I say out one of their spelling words, right? Like maybe the word is happy or whatever, and they have to write it. Or I give clues based off of their spelling. Like, this is one of the words that shows a feeling or whatever it might be. And they spell the word. And then what happens is I randomly pick one of their names, but they don't know who it is, right? So they never see who the kid is that I picked. And I say, okay, show me your boards. So they all show me their boards. And if the kid I picked spelled it right, again, nobody knows who this child is. If the kid I picked spelled it right, they get a point. So it's sort of like one of those mystery games where they never know which kid I'm picking, so they all want to spell it right and whatever. If the kid I picked doesn't get it right, then I say, oh, whoops, they didn't spell it right. Here's how to spell it. And it's fine because nobody knows who got it right or wrong or whatever, and they don't see what each other wrote on their boards anyways. But here's the clutch that the kids love. Then it goes to my turn. And they pick a word for me to spell. And then I have to spell it right.
Oh.
And then we use the dictionary, either online or the book, to look up to make sure Miss D spelled it right. And it was adorable when I did this with second grade, because I'd pick a kid's name and I'm like, okay, what word do you want me to spell? And they'd be like, desk. And I'd have to be like, ooh, that's a hard one. But you could teach spelling patterns, right? Like I know the sk is, an SK or whatever, right?
Talk it through.
Yeah, or what vowel would that be? And you could talk it through. And then they wised up and were like, hey, y'all, we're giving her super easy words. And they asked, because I have so many Spanish speakers, can we do Spanish words? And I was absolutely, not knowing that for me, Spanish is a much more phonetic language. So I killed it on the Spanish words. And it was actually more the English words that I got caught up on. And then I gave them hints like, hey, you guys, if you really want to stump me, pick, animal names, like exotic animal names or countries or stuff that doesn't necessarily have a spelling pattern we did last week, or something that's easy. And that's really cute. And with older kids, you can pick vocab words, you can pick content or whatever. And it's a super easy time filler that you can do with any age group, but they love trying to come up with words to stump the teacher. And I don't mind admitting to children that I spelled something wrong, or discover.
I'm always like, yeah. That looks weird. I can't remember how to spell it. I'm looking it up, and then I talk about how to look it up.
Yeah, exactly right. And you can use the guide words or whatever if you're in a physical dictionary. The other thing along those lines is if they draw a simple tic-tac-toe board, and you can basically use that game for anything. So they draw a simple tic-tac-toe board. They either put all their spelling words on it, or you can. I've done this where all the kids draw a tic-tac-toe board on their dry erase boards. I pull out a bunch of math flashcards and I give, 9 answers, right? Because there's 9 spots. And I say, okay, write 54 somewhere on your board, right? 72 or whatever. And then I do the flashcards. So they have to answer the question. And if they get 3 in a row or whatever, they would. So it's like you can use a tic-tac-toe board to literally fill with any content, whether it's vocab words or math problems or whatever. And you just go through until some kid gets 3 in a row, and It's great. You fill a couple minutes. And that's really nice for subs because, you know the subject or like whatever you're going into to subs. If you look up a bunch of vocab words or just look around the classroom to see what their spelling or vocab is, you could play either game with that.
That sounds like fun.
Oh, we just had a power.
That was
See,
weird.
Speaking of California weather, it's like 80 degrees outside, and we just had a power.
A power blink.
Yeah. If you hear a bunch of beeping, it's because luckily, we actually just had solar panels installed. But what happens is when the power goes out, all the batteries and everything like chime. So if you all hear that, that's why. Any other games? I have a couple like rando ones.
Well, I did just teach the kids. I just made this game up on the spot because I was like trying to figure out ways they could practice like 10 facts at home. I had all these extra dice because I do, and I gave them each one, and I just had them like roll the dice. What is it? Okay, what plus that makes 10.
Oh, right.
And they sat there rolling dice for I don't know how long. They thought that was great. So
yeah. So if you have an extra supply, you can actually make a game out of it.
And I was trying to teach them the same thing with playing cards. You can do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, a die, one die, or some dice, or playing cards. You can make all kinds of math games out of it. This next one, I stumbled upon by accident, but I had punched into directions in my phone when I was driving my kids, and they got a kick out of that. Like Google Maps or whatever was like telling me the directions out loud. And since my older son can read, he asked, hey, can I hold the phone and be the one that says the directions instead of it saying out loud? And I was like, sure. And so he muted the phone and would be like, in 300 feet, turn left. And he like practiced his little voice. And first of all, I think the rest of the world, I cannot judge what 300 feet is. So I was like, dude, you got to read me straight return on. I don't know where 300 feet is. Sorry. Maybe I shouldn't admit that as a teacher. I'm not good at judging. I didn't play football. I don't know yards unless I'm like standing there really thinking about it. Maybe that's what I need to practice. Anyways. And so he did a great, although I do know 10 feet and 15 feet from playing basketball. Anyways. So he was really good at, reading the directions, and he got a kick out of it. And then when we were driving for a really long stretch where it was like 2 miles before there was a direction, he would zoom out of the map and be like, I want to go visit Palestine. And he would like zoom into Palestine and whatever. And then he'd zoom out of the map and be like, oh, I want to explore South America. And he'd like zoom into a country in South America. And he got such a kick out of that I thought, man, you could totally turn this into an activity at school. So sometimes for a fun time filler, I'll tell the students like pick a country or pick a whatever, or even just pick a landmark in your own city, and then go to the Google directions and have them punch in the directions and read each other, the direction. Like older kids, like 5th grade, you could have one kid navigate and the other one read out the directions or whatever and like find the spot. Or you can make it into all kinds of activities with, okay, if you're going by bicycle, how much longer would it take than by car or like whatever, because it shows all those things.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay,
lunch is almost over. I forgot to turn off the alarm.
We're filming this on Labor Day, so we normally would be at school on a Monday.
And this would be time. You need to use the bathroom?
Yeah, it's time to go to the bathroom.
Get your stuff together. Put the fork back, please.
But anyway, something as simple as like Google Maps directions, because my kid did not grow up the way I did, where my dad is chucking a map at me and being like, tell me when to turn on the whatever. They don't have to do that. So they have so much joy out of
I had a whole conversation about maps with my 22-year-old. And he's like, what?
Folding them back together?
Yeah, we had a map and you'd have to use like... Because he won't even, like, I'll tell him directions. It's like, no, I'm just going to Google it. And he has to do the map thing. He won't like, listen to my... Which is also like, oh, you remember where there's a store that used to be there? Turn there.
Yeah, that's what I do by landmark. Well, the Arby's used to be. And people are like, what are you talking about? Oh, sorry.
Exactly.
I knew that my husband had a much better sense of direction when one time he was navigating for me and he said, turn north. And I was like, hold up. You think I just know where north is all the time? And I swear that man does. Like, I don't know if he has an internal compass.
That might be.
Yeah. Okay, anywho. Give the kids directions have them explore. They'll love it. They love the navigating of it. You could even pull up a map of, areas around your school, and they could say, go for a walk into the store. How do we do it? And, map it out. That, assuming you have some sort of technology or way to project it to the kids, I think they would love that. Or bring an actual physical map in and show them.
What?
That's actually super helpful because for the longest time, my actual children always thought north was up. Right? Like vertically up. So to teach them, like, just because a printed map may or may not look like that. The other thing as a sub I always had is a read aloud book.
I was just going to say.
Yeah.
And always have a couple that you feel comfortable reading aloud.
Yeah.
And it might also help if you have like some little worksheet or a way of doing something all the time and you practice it with them a couple times. So then they have a sub. It's like, okay, we're going to fold the paper and here we're going to list all the characters and here we're going to put the setting, like just some of those basic things as good practice.
Yeah, characters, setting, plot, any of that. Yeah, so what we're talking about is if you have a picture book that you enjoy, you've read, you like you don't want to cold read, just like pull a teacher's book kind of thing. And you're like, I've done that before and realized the first page had 3 paragraphs and I was like, no, I'm out. Because if it's a book I haven't read all the way through, whatever. Anyways, having a picture book.
Or you come to something a little problematic and go,
skip that page.
Turn it. This book is old. No.
Yeah, exactly. There was this book, man, talk about tangents. There was this book I remember when I was in credentialing school that the teacher pulled out and she was like, this is why you want to cull your class library or like read things in it, because it was from 1972 and it was like, men are doctors, and then you flip the page and it's women are nurses.
Oh my
and
God.
You're like, oh Jesus. And then the next one, which I was super offensive, it was like men become, or I'm sorry, it wasn't men, it was like little boys grow up to be. That's what it was.
Oh.
Little boys grow up to be policemen. Do you know what the woman one was for that? She had us guess. Not a single one of us got it right.
Mothers?
Meter maids.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that terrible? So it's like little boys grow up to be police officers. Little girls grow up to be meter maids.
Like Charlie's Angels, the beginning part, Kate Jackson is a meter maid until Charlie got her.
Oh, that's right.
Remember?
She was a meter. Oh my God.
Sorry,
Anywho,
totally off.
don't cold read a book because you might get the like little boys are cops and girls are meter maids. Anywho, having a picture book with activities like you're saying that you can kind of do. Also, if you teach and or sub middle to high school, having one that is either short stories, right, or poems or whatever it might be. Or I actually remember when I was in 6th grade, a sub had those. What was that book called? Like 2-Minute Mysteries or something like that.
Oh, I used to read those all the time.
Aren't those great? Where, it's basically posing a problem and you have to solve like, how did the detective know that it was so-and-so, right? That's how I kind of remember
Although you have to preview those because I totally remember reading this one where the guy had a van and like they had to put his 8-track tape in. So, Also check.
Well, you can use as an opportunity to learn about how music has changed. Like when I brought in my record player, I remember, bless their little hearts. This was, even what I'm about to say is dated because it was 10 years ago. They go, that's the biggest CD I've ever seen. And like kids today don't even know what CDs are.
Well, they don't even know what MP3 players are.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Because
because
it's all on
because there was something we were reading about that. And I'm like, they don't even know what this is.
I feel like this is the most dated podcast. We started with overhead projectors and blue line masters.
Back in the old days, kids, this is what you had.
No, but sometimes the kids really enjoy that, like learning about how it used to be.
Oh, yeah. And then, yes.
That's what I love about driving around with my stepdad. He just tells me, like, he's really good at knowing what everything used to look like. He's like, oh, there used to be a Mervin's over here. Oh, there used to be, like, that's what driving around town with him is like. There used to not be this building. It used to be a field.
Oh, see, I am that person.
You're the used
Remember,
to be.
we used to go here. This is where we got to have treats after swimming lessons at the Y. No.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, having a book so you can read is great.
A book you can read, always good.
Yeah, or having like discussion questions. Like I made a video on how I like starting in school, especially for middle and upper, but it works for elementary, of share and connect questions. So it's usually just a series of, would you rather questions or that kind of thing. So if you have a bunch of those sort of preloaded, you can ask kids and they can
That's also a good writing assignment.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you rather do this or do this? Or
Yeah.
would you rather have wings or
and Leanna,
web feet or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. Leanna came up with a good idea of we labeled the corners in our classroom 1, 2, 3, 4, and so you can do really simple either multiple choice questions, or you can say corner 1 is true.
4 corners. Yeah.
But what's great is you can use content, so you can use it as like, okay, you make a statement. If you think it's true, go to corner 1. If you think it's false, go to corner 2. And that's nice because they get to get up and stand around. But if you just say, oh, this is corner 1 and corner 2, you can come up with all kinds of like questions or things they can do and run around the classroom. And that also reminds me of when you said a writing assignment, especially for middle or high school, if you kind of explain what an elevator pitch is or what a persuasive argument is, if they haven't done it, or they should by middle and high school. But anyways, you can have them do a really fast, quick write, write a paragraph of to convince your family to give you an allowance, or write a 1-paragraph argument for students to have 5 extra minutes of recess, or whatever it might be. And then all the kids can read them or share them. But having those like quick write things are nice too.
Oh yeah, because that just takes paper and pencil, which in most cases is not an issue.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. You know what I wrote on this? And this is so fortuitous based off of our conversation. One of the things I wrote for that argument paper is create ridiculous statements like, and here was my example, all food should be eaten with a spoon. Which is ironic considering our conversation about the staff
it just
lounge.
Comes all around.
It does,
So
because
beautiful.
we have all eaten food with just a spoon in the staff lounge.
Or I've tried with 2 plastic knives. But it doesn't work.
Doesn't
They do
work.
not work like chopsticks.
They don't.
Just so you know.
They really don't.
And they can be sharper than you actually think.
So were you eating with them backwards at a certain
I
point?
think I was trying to use it to eat a salad. I'm like, okay, this
Just scoop it in
not
your face.
working.
Yeah. So if any of these ideas are helpful, what I do is I actually keep all of these either in an online doc or an app on my phone, so that when I need to do a time filler, I just pull it up and I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's right. Or if I'm like subbing somebody's class and I have to do some activity, this is what I pull out.
I remembered there was this book I had as a kid in ancient times. It's was Ed Eberly Draws the World.
Okay.
And it was like basically stick figure type drawings.
Uh-huh.
But I would do it when I subbed, and I'd draw it on the board and go, okay, chalkboards. No.
Oh, I hated chalk. I had chalk the first 2 years.
Anyway, and I would draw the shape, and they had to copy it until they came up with like, I'd go, okay, we're going to draw a circle and put it here.
Oh,
we're
like
gonna draw a
step-by-step
square.
cartoon drawing.
Yes, and they would do that, and then I'd have them write about it.
Oh, that's clever. The other thing I noticed that you do that I do too is there's a lot of different artists that post for free for teachers that complete the comic, right? Where there'll be like a 6-frame comic and they'll draw the first 2 pictures or whatever, and then the kids complete it. And having that either that you could project to the kids or having a bunch of them run off and the kids can fill is super fun. Like
I
my
have a
5th
little
graders
stack of
love
them.
Yeah, exactly. I have that too. My 5th graders love having those. So. But you're saying, if you learn how to draw something really simple, like a little hedgehog or like a person or whatever.
You can also teach them to like you draw something or whatever, and then label the parts, because that's labeling things is a skill they need, and
using text features when they're reading. Yeah.
Yes, and you could do it on something silly, like a dinosaur and like a stuff.
Totally. Yeah.
Sharp teeth to eat people, or whatever they want. Nice. I have a character I called Tom Stickman because he's stick. And sometimes I would say that would be like the random name I would use. Uh-huh. And if you write some boring sentences that they have to elevate to say, like you go, Tom Stickman woke up. He went downstairs. He ate breakfast. He got on the bus.
Okay.
This is my boring story. How are you going to, I want you to change it now so that I know he's sad.
Oh, I love it. So you give them like a basic, sentence frame or story.
You could just write it real quick on the on the overhead or document camera or type it on the whatever and say, how are you going to make, and teach them how to change. Instead he got up, he drug himself out of bed or he leapt out of bed.
Right. Yeah. You can use it to teach parts of speech. Like what adjective could we use? Or how could we change the verb?
How can you get feeling in here without saying he was sad? You have to put in all or he was excited.
I love it. So draw like a very basic Tom Stickman. And story, and then they illustrate it better and write it to be
and then
more
have it,
engaging.
and give them a feeling or whatever, or they can decide the feeling,
right? Or change it, or like, how could this be funny, or how can this be mysterious, or whatever.
Also, it's very little prep.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like with everything we said, it's like you don't have to buy things. It's just stuff you have in your head. Maybe the book that isn't about meter maids. But besides a read-aloud book that you carry along with you.
That might be the free one you pick up. Oh, it's in the discard box. Let me get it.
Totally.
Read it first. There's a reason it was discarded.
Yeah, exactly. Pre-read anything. You don't want to cold read a book in front of a kid. I actually had a friend that she didn't do that with just like a random book, but it was one of the stories in the readers that we all have to read. And it was the first time she had taught that unit. It happened to be a unit that she usually skipped. And so she was reading it in front of the kids, and it's totally appropriated state curriculum, but it ended up being a funny story, and she just hadn't pre-read it. And so she laughed, and the kids were very confused because they were like, haven't you read this story? Like, why is this surprising to you? And she was like, oh, I just forgot. I forgot how funny it was. Whoops, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you make a mistake, I'm so glad you caught that. I did that on purpose. I wanted to see if you were paying attention.
You were paying attention.
You always need that, be able to say that.
When you were saying that
10 points to you.
Yeah, good job. Your group gets an extra. When you were saying the Tom Stickman thing, it reminds me of, I used to draw a little cartoon of me, and she was always like happy and whatever. And last year's second grade, who was adorable, did a lot of kind of funny jokes with me. And one time they said I was being grumpy, which was factually true. And so from that point forward, I didn't draw the little happy Miss D. I drew grumpy Miss D with like the eyebrows that are like going down and the frowny face. And they loved it. And then so anytime I had to draw something, I drew grumpy Miss D. So having your Tom Stickman or your grumpy Miss D or your angry cat or whatever it might be that you draw, the kids get a kick out of it, which I love. Speaking of children, do you have a classroom story? Because I have one that I told you all that you can piggyback on.
I was just remembering this story I heard this summer. It wasn't my story.
Oh, okay.
But my family knows people that come and visit from different parts of the world because that's how they are. Mm-hmm. And it was a cousin who's actually really... She's younger she's the age of my daughter, but she's related.
Right.
Somehow.
She's a cousin. She's just really like the younger generation.
She's related. She's a cousin, and she's a preschool teacher in France.
Oh, right.
And I think it was my brother-in-law. We were talking. It's like, well, how do kids behave in France? Like thinking, oh, they must be better.
They're better
because they're in France. I don't know.
In another country, they must be better.
And she was talking about this kid that she had problems with, and preschool, by the way, is mandatory there, I guess.
Oh, it's like a state.
Yeah, and she had like 4 or 5 year olds. This year she has 27 3-year-olds. I was like,
wait, hold up.
Yes,
what?
I know. That's what she's going to have.
How many aides does she have?
She has one co-teacher or something.
Yo, that is crazy. I feel like if they're mandating 27 of them with you, you better give me like 5 people.
I know. I was like, really? And anyway.
Are you sure it wasn't a translation?
No, that's what she speaks very good English. She's been here 3 or 4 times. She's very friendly. Love her to pieces. Anyway, she was saying this one kid was hitting some other kid.
Oh, uh-huh.
And she had to have a talk with him how, you really can't use your hands. Of course, it was in French, I'm sure.
Right.
But she can't use your hands to express how you're feeling. You use to use your mouth.
Right.
So
talk it out.
He bit him. So she goes, yeah, you got to make sure that you phrase what you mean. Exactly.
He complied. That little kid followed directions.
He did. He did use his mouth. But I thought it was funny. So kids are the same everywhere.
Everywhere. They're going to take you literally.
Very literally.
I still can't get over how many 3-year-olds she has.
I know. I'm like, are you, what?
We have international listeners. I have to see if there's any from France.
She also said that she had to teach the 5-year-olds cursive.
Oh, okay. So I don't know about this in terms of France, but I did have
maybe it's just
a reading curriculum that it said, we have this phonics curriculum. We have it in print and we have it in cursive. And it kind of went through why cursive is actually easier when they're little because the letters
I can
connect.
see that.
But I have, which I could totally see in terms of writing because the letters connect. However, for letter differentiation and then reading, I could see it being a little harder. But I wonder if this is like her province or area specific.
I don't know.
We do have international listeners.
Maybe you could let us know.
Yeah, if you're listening
It's
from
just her
France,
school, and we're like, come on, maybe you better ask these guys.
and you work in a mandated preschool area where you have 3-year-olds and you have 27 of them and only one other adult in the room. I'm very curious because you probably have significantly better classroom management than I ever will, and I would love to know how that works. And now you know not to tell them to use their mouth. Use it. Yeah, you have to. My husband got kicked out of preschool for biting more than one.
I had a kid, he bit somebody once. He's like, well, I was hungry. And I'm like,
oh, no. I dealt with that as the dean, and a kid bit another kid. And the kid who was the biter was missing his front teeth, right? And I remember being on the phone with the parent, and they're like, are you sure it was my son? Because, none of us want to believe we have a kid that, bites another kid. Except my mother-in-law, who had to deal with my husband biting when he was a small child. Anyways, and I told the parent, I said, well, I am not a forensic dentist, but the bite marks do match up with the fact that... And she was like, oh, okay. Got it. Missing the front teeth. Bite mark. So if any children are listening and you choose to bite somebody and you're missing a very particular set of teeth, maybe don't leave marks because we're going to know it's you based off of the fact that it's missing those marks. I have a story based off of the fact that we are just wrapping up our state testing. And one of the students, the 5th graders, they did fantastic. There's some really long reading. What?
Not the state testing, but the district testing.
Sorry.
I was like, you did state testing already? Oh, my gosh.
That's how little I know. I'm like, no, isn't it by the state? And so he's like, no, that's the district. Anyways, what I meant to say was the district testing. I feel like if it's on a computer, it's government mandated to me. Anyways, district testing. And one of them was reading, obviously, and they're reading long passages. And the 5th graders did great. They were silent. They didn't interrupt each other, whatever. But it is totally silent when they're taking it. And all of a sudden, a kid finishes and he goes, corn ice cream? What did I just read? And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, I just read a whole passage about corn ice cream and how the grandpa made the corn ice cream. And what happened? And I go, what? And he showed it to me and it was correct. And it was in my ignorance of not understanding because Jenny at lunch knew all about corn ice cream.
Oh, yeah, she had pictures.
Yeah, she had pictures.
I've heard of it before.
And I found out it's like a regional thing. Apparently, it's much more prevalent in Korea and other Asian countries, although I'm sure you can find it in the U.S. I just have never seen it. And I thought that was adorable. And so we actually used it as a conversation piece of just foods and different areas. And then the kids had a little debate of whether they would try it or not and reasons why. For a listener that grew up with corn ice cream, you probably think this is bonkers that we never heard of it. But in California, in our particular region, I had just never seen it. And have you ever had corn ice cream?
No, but I feel like I was aware of it from, I don't know, I read something or there's some book or something, who knows, but it didn't sound totally out there.
Yeah, I felt like I was the ignorant one because other people were like, well, yeah, I heard of it. I was like, where did I grow up? All of you, we all grew up. Well,
admittedly, I know weird food facts, so that
that's true. It. You do know a lot more about baking and food and whatever. I think I'd like to try corn ice cream. Especially after that.
Well, yeah.
If I find it, I have to bring it in so that student can try it. But see, you can use your district testing as a teaching moment.
Find those teachable moments.
So what was I talking about? Oh, so Stephanie and I, like I said earlier, text a day or two before we record about topics. However, if you, listener, have a request for a topic that doesn't involve Stephanie and I combining two unrelated subjects into one episode.
But still related.
They are related because they save you when you're like, oh, I don't,
when you
the
need
plan
that.
Goes sideways. Actually, I forgot to mention this. the reason why I like always having these is when the power goes out or the
Oh,
internet goes out, because many of my lessons are power dependent, whether it's kids on Chromebooks or I need light or a
just
projector or the
or
slides
whatever.
that I'm showing. Yeah, they're not necessarily always internet dependent, but they are power dependent. I mean, I need to project whatever I'm teaching. So having things that are independent of power or internet.
Or copies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because the copy machine breaks down. That's why if you have like simple, I'm going to fold the paper and in each square, we're going to write this.
Yes.
Kind of in your head somewhere.
Yeah, that's super helpful. Yeah, having all those backup things I think is really important. And if all else fails, you can just eat the snacks while you wait for the power to come back on.
Read silently for 2 hours. No.
Yeah, exactly. Anywho, if listeners, you have a topic that you would like us to chat about, because we have tons of topics, but sometimes I just don't know what appeals to audience or what people would like to know about. We also have, plenty of teacher friends who are, subject area competent and can answer it. Apparently here's the
Or
desk
if you just
full
want to
of
see
stuff.
how far on tangents we could go.
We are such that teacher. This is why I can't teach high school. Because if I taught high school, they'd be like, dude, if you just ask Miss D about corn ice cream, she will just go off on a tangent.
Third graders figure it out. Like, just talk to her about this. She'll forget.
She'll forget that we're supposed to be doing multiplication tables. And she'll just talk and we'll have a great conversation. But I feel like that's where some of our classroom stories come from.
This is true.
Because if they know that we created a safe space to share stories unrelated to the content, then they like to share stories unrelated.
Right. Which
to
is,
the
we
content.
want them to be creative thinkers.
See, it's a plus.
See?
But the kids totally do know what to ask to get us off.
Oh, completely.
And you and I too love like the etymology, like where words come from and why they say the certain way and whatever. So as soon as a kid says like, "What's that word mean?"
Oh yeah,
they know
gone.
it's just.
Well,
coming
I don't know. Let's look it up, and I'll.
I also think we could, we could totally have an episode where we don't plan it and we're like, what do we want to talk about? But I also think one of these days we should have an episode called "What Bugs Us This Week." Because I feel like that's what our text thread is. Here's what bugs us this week.
Oh my! And that could be just different, random.
That's what I mean, because I think it's different stuff. It's like when I was a new parent with my firstborn, and bless my midwife, she was so sweet, because I would like, I'm worried about this, or like this is a concern, or like I'm not sure about if this is quote normal or whatever. And she would say, the great thing about parenting is in 6 weeks you'll have an entirely new set of problems, and none of these things will bug you anymore, and you'll move on to
the
something
same
else.
is true of teaching,
Right.
because it's just like having your own 24, 30 kids for the year.
Yeah.
By the time you figure them out, then they go off.
You know what our district did this year? See, this is so. I'm gonna have to edit out almost everything we talk about. I don't even know why my mind went here. I'm just saying this. If anybody is ever on a what is it? Our thing, calendar committee, schedule committee, like the people who get to decide when the professional developments are and whatever. Okay, so if your district or school has like a calendar committee or whatever, ours, because they have to plan 2 years in advance, they elected that the day after Halloween, if Halloween falls on a weekday, so like I have to look it up, like Halloween's, let's say, a Wednesday, the day after, so November 1st, is a professional development day for the teachers, and the kids don't come to school. So you don't have to deal with that like Halloween hangover.
Yeah.
Of the kids that stay out late. And I can't remember. I feel like it's this year that we have that.
I can't
It might be next
remember.
year.
I've been on calendar committees, and that conversation totally comes up. Like, when should we have to put in an SBC day? We have to do this. What do you guys think? And
Right.
someone always go, do the day after Halloween.
And I understand like that can be difficult for families who have to take time off to watch their kids because it's like a random Thursday or whatever. But as a teacher, it is so nice.
Oh, yeah, because that kid comes in and there's like smeared makeup all over their face and their hair's sticking up because they didn't have a lot of sleep. And
I always forget about that. The makeup that didn't wash off, and then they like have the spray color in their hair that didn't come out.
And they're just a little cranky.
And they're like coming down off their candy high, and then they always have for their snack like three Reese's and like Kit Kat.
Candy snacks forever.
Yeah. So
trying to sneak them all. Like, no, there's candy wrappers on the floor. Seriously.
we always
Because I'm on my tangent and I wasn't paying attention.
We always ban it as a school. Like, you can't bring your Halloween candy. And I feel like no teacher is full of more false hope than the one that says, now don't bring your candy to school tomorrow.
I used to let my kids just eat whatever they wanted that night. That's bad. They could eat whatever they wanted for like a day, and then.
Oh, you mean in terms of the candy? Like, they can pick out what they want.
Sometimes they would get sick of it, and then they wouldn't ask for it the first time.
Or
my daughter would save it, and like she'd clean her room 2 years later and find the can that she'd kept the candy in because she was done.
Totally. I feel like that parenting style is the like smoke the whole pack of cigarettes. You eat all the candy you want on October 31st. And so for anybody who, I don't know which countries celebrate Halloween, which ones don't. I feel like it's a mostly United States holiday, although other countries have like versions of it. But here's what children do. They dress up as things that normally you would not allow children to be or dressed as, like pirates, murderers, scary things. Then there's like super cute costumes like butterflies and like whatever show, like Bluey, or like, you know, superhero type things. So the children wear costumes is what it's supposed to be. And then on October 31st, they go to strangers' homes. They go through the neighborhood. I actually remember describing this to somebody who was like a family member friend who was from Argentina. And I was explaining, like, yes, they go through the neighborhood and they're like, oh, to your friends' houses? And I was like, no, to strangers' homes that they've never met, after you've done entire units on, like, don't go to people's houses.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know. They go to people's houses and they knock on the door and say trick or treat. And then those people give them food that they're also never supposed to take from people. The children get candy. And then go to the next house and get candy. And, you know, you decorate your house and there's skeletons and cobwebs and spiders and like all this like Halloween type things. And then the children gorge themselves on said candy that night.
I'm just picturing like the Skittle smeared face.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then as a parent, you try to convince them to eat their spaghetti or pizza or whatever you had them to eat before. They go trick-or-treating, and they kind of don't. And then they eat a bunch of candy. And then as a teacher, you just know if you teach on Halloween, don't.
You mean the day after?
Or no, the day of, too.
Oh, yeah, that's
like, it's
also
always
true.
a mess. And, like, not every family or celebrates Halloween either. So that's something you should know about, is, you know, where those boundaries lie in terms of participation. But if your school allows the children to come in costumes, be prepared. If I have an aide or anybody that ever assists with me and I teach 3rd grade on up, I donate that person to kinder on Halloween day, because children need to rapidly get out of their costumes to use the restroom, and they don't know how. And so any free adult that can help kinder, you need to donate that adult to kinder so the children can get out of their costumes, and or the kids are so uncomfortable in their like butterfly wings that they need help removing them after the first hour or whatever it is.
You reminded me of a story of a 3rd grader. The other kid, this is like after Halloween, the next day or day after, whatever. So-and-so has a knife. What? They have a knife. A real knife? I think it's a plain one. Okay. Whatever. And I like, it's another principal, whatever. He actually had like a sword in his sweats. Like, so he pulled it out. It was
like a legit sword?
Well, a plastic one. Yeah. But it was like 2.5 foot long.
Nice.
It's like, it wasn't just a knife. It was like, how did you walk around with that thing?
With like a very straight leg, apparently.
I just remember that was so funny because...
Yeah,
he's
got a knife. Oh no, he has an entire like katana down his sweatpants.
Some ninja tool thing.
Anyway. Yeah, that reminds me. I had a friend where she was teaching at a religious school, and they let the kids not only dress up on Halloween, but the next day was All Saints Day, and so they could dress up as a saint. And she came up with talk about like double duty costumes. She came up with a brilliant idea of she would for Halloween always dress as a Jedi. with the long robes, and then the next day she would just remove the lightsaber, and she could be
that's really
a
smart.
saint or one of the apostles or like whatever, because it was the long robes and the sash and the whatever. And so she very smartly saved a bunch of money on costumes because she only had one, and she would wear it both days. Isn't that clever?
I don't know what I'm going to be this year.
That is also kind of fun as a teacher. What was this episode about? Oh, like survival.
We should start talking about
No,
Halloween.
but this is important because for any teacher who has worked Halloween knows exactly what we're going through.
And some people will be their very first time.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. If you are listening to I'll probably post this mid-September. So if you're listening to this in September, get ready. You have a month to prepare, and the children are going to be bonkers. They're going to be super excited. Don't plan on teaching any brand new content. You can do whatever you want to do that day. There's probably going to be some little parade or the kids trot around in their little costumes and everybody's all excited. And then they're going to go have no dinner, eat just mainline candy that night.
And sneak it in for the whole week after.
Yes, sneaking in for the whole week. Come in the next day completely candy hungover and or mood swing crazy because they didn't sleep or they stayed up late or whatever it might be, except not for us because we're going to have professional development and the kids will be at home.
You know, this also goes to what we're talking about.
What?
It's a good idea that if you, I'm into Halloween. My own kids, we used to have these giant parties and everything. And I enjoy it because it's just a kid thing, right? It's just they don't have to go visit relatives. I mean, they just get to be kids and be crazy.
Totally.
But there's always a kid that's not allowed to celebrate. And I always want to make sure that whatever thing I make that they can do.
Oh, totally.
So a good idea is to do something like make skeletons and then study the bones.
Yeah.
Or what else did I do? Oh, I made them graph different types of candy or how many M&Ms or in the thing.
Or the different colors or whatever.
Right. Or I have this kind of reversal thing where you do a pumpkin, but then we also just do an emoji or something. Mm-hmm. So it's a good idea to kind of have projects or whatever that you can twist so that anybody can still enjoy them and have fun.
Oh, totally. And if you're northern hemisphere and it's fall, there's stuff you can do with pumpkins. I remember a teacher doing what's the circumference of the pumpkin, and they had the string and whatever. Because we're off topic, and if somebody tuned out 15 minutes ago, they're not coming back. So
Even better, you go, hey, I could just do a whole Halloween episode
I was
here.
to say maybe we should, but I was thinking when I was explaining to those Argentinians about the costume. Sorry. This was one of the most adorable conversations I've ever had with an adult. So it was not Halloween. It was the summer. And we had a little fire pit. And we got out marshmallows because we're going to make s'mores. And for anyone who did not grow up eating s'mores, what they are is you toast a marshmallow and you get a graham cracker and you put chocolate, usually Hershey's chocolate, but it can be any chocolate, square on that graham cracker. You put the toasted marshmallow on. It's a little sandwich that makes a gigantic mess. And I love them.
They're so good.
They're so good. Except I know people who hate them. And they're not allowed to be near us. They're so good. They're yummy and gooey, and they make a gigantic mess.
That's worse than not liking glitter.
That is true. Yeah, I will take glitter over somebody who doesn't like s'mores. How dare they?
Wow, she's serious.
I'm serious because without a medical reason, you need to enjoy them. Anyways, and there's so many options. We have family friends who don't eat gelatin, and there's marshmallows that don't have gelatin. We have people who don't. If you don't eat milk, you can have dark chocolate instead of the... Okay, anyways, point being. We brought out the marshmallows, and they are rapid fire speaking to each other, this couple, who are in their late 20s, early 30s. And my Spanish is okay. The Argentinian accent threw me off a little bit, but they were speaking so fast, I couldn't even pick out part of what they were saying. And so I asked them to slow down, and their cousin, who's is bilingual, English-Spanish, was explaining to me that the reason why they got so excited, this is so awesome, is because they grew up watching American horror films. And they always saw kids at the cabin or whatever cooking something over fire. And they didn't understand what it was because they culturally didn't grow up with it. That doesn't mean that no one in Argentina has never seen a s'more. It's just this couple had just never experienced it as children or whatever. And so they recognized that what we were doing was the thing from the horror films.
Before the first person gets it.
Yes, before the first person gets pulled into the lake. And they were so pumped because, again, the person usually dies in the movie. So they never saw the completed food item. They just saw people toasting
They're
something.
eating. What are they eating?
Yeah, what are they eating? You know, it's not a hot dog. It's not whatever. It's not something you would normally cook. And so, one, they were excited that they got to see the whole completion process.
And then have it.
Ooh. And so, again, my family takes s'more making very seriously. My stepbrother puts the graham cracker and the chocolate on a piece of tin foil and preheats it next to the fire. So that it melts. And then as a s'more person, you are either like him, he's going to spend 10 minutes perfectly toasting the outside so it's a golden brown, or you're like me where you like flamethrower it and shove it in, burn it to a crisp.
Oh, see.
And then you pull off the edge and you keep doing that over and over again.
I like to get it golden brown and then light it on fire.
Oh, that's true. That is a third option. You could split the difference. I was on a camping retreat with students, and this one kid told me, he's like, no, you skin the marshmallow, which sounds disgusting. But if you made it this far.
I've done that too.
Yeah,
That's
where you
good.
flame it and blow it out, and then you pull the skin off. His family, they leveled up s'mores. They pull the skin off, and then they put ice cream into the marshmallow skin. I know, right? They put ice cream into the marshmallow skin, and then they make a s'more with the other one. And
I'm like, wow, now I got to go home and try this.
For anybody still listening, thank you. Thank you for still being here. I wish I sold something, because this is where I'd be like, here's the free product code that if you made it this far. Okay, but I feel like the skinning the marshmallow ice cream thing is a pretty clutch, awesome thing, because you can keep doing it over and over again. Anyways, the Argentinians. So we make them the s'more. They were so excited. They were so pro s'more that the guy ate it until he almost got sick. He probably had 7 s'mores.
Oh my gosh. I used to be able to do 2 or 3. Now it's like
no,
one.
He legit, like, we had to open a whole nother thing of graham crackers. Like, we hustled through and my mom, who loves feeding people way more than any human could actually consume, was so happy that they ate so much that she sent them home with packs of graham crackers, things of marshmallow, yes, chocolate? and chocolate bars, so that none of those things exist in Argentina, but she wanted to make sure they were well stocked.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So that they could spread the word to their community that it's not just in horror films.
It's not just for horror films.
Yeah, and then we were doing a bunch of jokes too of like, can they get to the point where they eat it, or is somebody can come out of the woods, or like whatever. But I always remember that when I make s'mores, is that if your only experience internationally is what s'mores is seen, teenagers get murdered shortly after they make them, then you should have a real one, start to finish.
However, you do not need the whole s'more ingredients.
That's true.
In your survival kit. That's cool.
I thought you were going to say to eat them, because I've just straight up eaten marshmallows.
Although, the graham crackers are a good snack to have around.
Yeah. And you can make a s'more in your microwave, and there's all kinds of...
You could eat a raw s'more, which is not as good.
It's not as great.
But it's still satisfying.
And one more thing I was going to... Oh, so if you ever do... How long? Oh my God, it's an hour and a half in. I might have to edit all this. No one may ever hear this, but for me, this is important.
Have the whole Halloween, and we'll add on to
different
costumes.
We should just have a Halloween thing where this comes back on and it makes more sense. Anyways, if I keep this in the podcast episode and you're an hour and a half in, then you know what? You're committed. Bless you.
Or should be.
Okay. Here's the last more thing to tell you. If you ever have to do like whatever, the outdoor camp with students or the whatever where the s'mores come out, the number one thing you have to say before any of this happens is you go through, if your marshmallow catches on fire, you have 2 options. You blow it out calmly, or you shove it back into the fire, and I will give you another marshmallow. I have an entire bag full of marshmallows. We are not marshmallows like gatekeeping. You can have another one, because one of the worst injuries I've ever seen is a kid was flaming a marshmallow, panicked, and fanned it, whipped it back and forth.
And caught people on fire?
And the marshmallow flew off. And for anyone who's never flung a flaming marshmallow at something.
flaming marshmallow.
Yeah, they stick. So it stuck to the kid's arm where it landed on this other child.
Oh my goodness.
And it was...
This is sad now.
It is sad. Okay, maybe this is not the best story to end on. But it's a cautionary tale. Because even though we told that, you guys, if it catches on fire, whatever, we did not tell them the life or death situation this becomes, and it sticks to you and it burns you, and it's serious. And luckily it came off fast enough that it wasn't like serious burns for the child, but it was enough that any time now
we
it has
must
traumatized
share
me.
the story of
We
the
must
flaming,
share the same.
the flying flaming
Because I've
marshmallow.
also seen kids do it, like my own family, where it doesn't hit anybody and they like fling it. But that's too close for my comfort. So if you are bringing out s'mores with, or even adults for that matter, who panic easily, tell them, if it flames, you are calmly blowing it out. You don't have to blow it off. You don't
Or shove it in the fire
shove
and
it in
just
the
let
fire.
it burn. Enjoy the
Yeah, we are
pyro.
rich in marshmallows. We'll get you another one, but do not wave it about because it becomes like napalm. Like it literally will just stick and just keep flaming, and so
Safety
it's not
tip.
good. Yeah, safety tip. I love it. What was this about? Time saving? You know how this started? I started saying, if you have an idea for an episode, email podcast at thetimecrunchteacher.com.
yeah.
And then we're like, here's some thoughts that popped into our head like actual children.
Well, because it was like calendar issues, and then
Oh, yeah, that's true. It was the day after Halloween. I do think that's important. If you're in a committee and you are teaching in the States where the children are allowed to have candy at school on Halloween, then you need to have a professional development day on November 1st.
Now I gotta look.
No, we do. Because that's how, okay, I'm going to look it up right now. That's how I know that Halloween's on like a mid day thing. I'm not going to make these people wait in this, and we need to just end this. Thank you so much for listening.
They're like on the edge of their seats. Did they get it off?
Did they? I swear we do.
Are they taking the day off?
Maybe,
There's
yeah.
no
Maybe.
subs
Oh, that's
anywhere?
actually, yeah, there's no subs. If you're a substitute teacher, you need to block out November 1st. That's the day that you were willing to sub, because nobody wants. And I feel like if you are part of the union negotiating team, you need to videotape October 31st in a classroom, because that proves the commitment that teachers have. If anyone ever questions the commitment of a teacher, you need to watch somebody who teaches kinder.
Oh my goodness.
Or middle school, which has a whole nother set of problems on Halloween. If you
Actually, every grade has their
grade.
own specialty
That's
on Halloween.
You need to film the teachers on October 31st, which will prove our commitment as educators. Clearly, because I think we've spoken before for half an hour. And then you need to say, these people need November 1st off, and or we need to change it so Halloween always falls on a Friday. And then everybody will be happy and it'll all work out. Aww. If you have an idea that doesn't involve children being injured by food products or me trying to teach somebody about Halloween.
Or if you just want to see what tangent we can get off
That's
of.
true. That should be our next one. Can we hold? We'll set a time limit. 10 minutes. Hold to the topic.
Sorry, we're off again. Dang.
Thank you so much for your kind attention today. Until next time, teachers. Bye for now.
Bye.